To make this very quick and easy project, we are going to need just a few items. Now this will be a really cool project for you to make with your kids, or even if you want to do it on your own, it'll be really cute. I'm thinking about this project in terms of how you can get kids involved in the holidays, or as a way for you to decorate your apartment-sized tree without spending too much money. So the first thing that we're going to need is, of course, a form or a mold. This one I found in my local craft store, and I just thought it was just kind of the right size and the right type of decoration that would be really cute for the holidays. And I love the fact that it has all of them in one mold. So I can make about 24 ornaments out of this to hang on the tree, so that's not too bad. We'll also need some polymer clay, and I went through my stash and you can see I've just got so many different types of polymer clay pieces that are just left over, so I'm going to use these up to make my ornaments. You can also use paper clay or any other type of clay that you would like. We're going to need, of course, a pasta machine. Now this machine is just used solely for my polymer clay. So if you plan to use a pasta machine, please set it aside just for your crafting purposes. Don't use it for food after you use it for the polymer clay. But this will help me soften up my clay. Now it isn't always necessary, especially these pieces that I've used before. They've already been prepared, so the heat from my hand, as you can see, I'm already able to squeeze that and start shaping it. So that's another way that you could do it. You could also take something and roll on it to help you get it softened up and prepared. But this is the easiest process. Now if you don't plan on using polymer clay, of course you won't need one of these, or if you just want to do this one time and you don't think that you're going to engage in any more polymer clay making, then don't worry too much about this. You can get these cheap at your local craft store, but those typically aren't the best machines and you may end up becoming more frustrated. So think about that. Again, I suggested that you could use paper clay if you wanted to. That would be a really cheap alternative, and it would be a little bit different of a process. You notice that these of course have color to them. The paper clay would not. You can add color to it later on by painting if you wanted to, so that's an option too. But for this project we're going to be using polymer clay, and then to help those ornaments kind of pop, we're going to be using some of these perfect pearls, Pearl-X, just different types of powders to help add some color. So you can see color's really nice there. So I have a ton of those too. You can see here I have a whole selection. I'm not likely to use all of them, but I did want to have them available so that I could kind of match them up and see what colors I wanted to put together. I typically will use this gold, sometimes this more antique looking gold, or what they call Aztec gold. I also have, if I can find it, I may not have brought it with me, but there's a bronze that I really like to use. Here's a solar gold. This micro pearl is also one that I like to use. So there are different options here, and I'll just kind of play around with them until I decide which one I like. Okay, so we'll need that. You'll also need, if you're doing the polymer clay, a tile so that you can bake your polymer clay. Now, for those of you who are working already with polymer clay, I'm sure that you have a toaster oven that is dedicated solely to your polymer clay, and that's great. You already know how to use the tile and so forth. For those of you who do not have that option, you can bake these in your home oven, but you're going to have to put them down into a pan that is set aside solely for the use of crafting. Cover it up with another pan or with some tin foil and cook it that way. And then when it's done being cured or cooked, you need to take it outside to open it, Don't open it in the house. Now, these are supposed to be non-toxic. They really aren't supposed to be harmful, but just out of caution, especially if you're working with the kids, take it outside to open it so that anything that comes off of it will dissipate into the atmosphere. You're also going to be needing just some dowels. These are really thin dowels. I brought two. I think I might be able to use this one. Let me show you what we're going to do here. So we're going to want to make some holes into the tops here. And we essentially have two spaces that we're going to be working with here. So we're going to have to kind of check to see how this is going to work. Now, for these ornaments, the ball ornaments, I think this larger one will be just fine. There's enough space there at the top that the hole that we would be using will fill or fit that just nicely without messing anything up. This one, on the other hand, has this design element that I'm afraid if I use the larger one and poke through here, it's going to actually make a hole that is going to open these portions up too, and I don't want to do that. So what I might do is use this smaller one and then poke the hole and kind of roll it around to enlarge it. And hopefully that won't mess up these little design elements that it has right here. Okay, I think that's it. Now, when we get to using our powders, I typically use my fingertips, and you'll see me doing that in the video. A lot of people don't like to use their fingertips, so you can use a brush. Just be very careful if you use the brush to tap it off really hard, because you don't want to put a huge layer on there. You want to do soft layers. And we're also going to be just barely touching the design here when we get our polymer clay out. So we want to make sure we don't have a whole blob of color on there. You can also use a surgical glove so that you don't get any of that pigment onto your finger if you don't want to. All right, so let me clear all of this and we'll be right back. Okay, once you have softened up your clay, you're just going to kind of work it so that you have a circle or a semicircle. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you're going to make a circle or a ball of each of your colors. And make sure that it's pretty soft. Some will be easier to work with than others, so it may take you a little bit more work. But once you have it in a ball, you'll just sit it in there. I did want to show you this one. I took a few colors and mixed them together and kind of got a little bit of a marbled look. So you can do that too if you want to. So now that I have all of these in a round form, I'm going to take each one of them and just squish them again just to make sure that they're soft. Roll them around. Because I want to be able to make sure that I can work with them. Now the heat from your hands is what will soften them, as you probably have figured out. And once you've got it softened up, let's come in a little bit closer here. Once you have it softened up, you're going to want to start using your thumb to press your clay down into the mold. The hardest part will be this top portion, but it's still easy to do. So just keep pushing until you get all of that portion filled in. And then try to flatten out the back of it as much as possible. So even it out as much as you can. If it starts popping up along the edge, just move that clay over. Okay, so you'll just do this with each one of them. Pick the ball of clay back up. Just make sure it's soft. And then use your thumb and fingers to start moving the clay into the spaces. Now what I would suggest is if your mold has spaces like this that might make it a little bit more difficult, push a bunch of that clay up in there and then start using something to help you get that clay situated, just to get you started. And if you have a lot of clay over here, just push that in there. And that's just to get it in there and get it started. So again, your goal is just really to try to make these as even as possible. So if you have too much in one area, just use your fingers to move the clay. And then once you get most of that clay in there, you know, move it around as you need to with your stick or whatever you have that can help you get that in there. Just make sure it's completely in there. And I'm just actually using the stick to help me move these pieces around, just to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. And then I can come back and just smooth it out. Alright, so you're going to do this with each one of these balls. And make sure that you use enough pressure to get that clay down in there. Alright, so what we're going to end up doing then, you won't have to watch me do all of those, is that we're going to take our tile and once you have pressed your piece in there very carefully, now because this is rubber, you should be able to just pop it right out, but be careful because if you have a really soft piece, it may stretch, which you don't want it to do. So pop that out. Be very careful taking that out. And we have our piece there. And then let's see how well we did on this one. This one I think is going to be a little more temperamental, but let's see if we can work with it. Remember, don't try to peel it out, you want to pop it out. There we go. Alright, so once you get them out, you can just kind of flatten them. And I'm going to turn it that way so I can work with it. And remember, we're going to need to make a hole. Now, this will be really cool either as a Christmas ornament or as a gift tag. So in this one, remember I said that the large one would probably work. So I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna start with the smaller one just to get the hole in there. So let's push very easily and turn. And then I'm going to kind of make it larger by moving it. Okay. And now I can use this one to make it much larger and just do the same movement, push and turn. Okay. And we want to make sure that the back actually has the hole in it. Okay. Now, reshape it if you need to. And now what I'm going to do, and I want you to see there's a little bit of green on there. I don't care about that. If you don't like it, you can try and pick it off a little bit, or you can pick it off, roll the clay back up, and redo it. But I'm not worried about it. So let's see what we can do here. We have gold. So I think I'm going to try maybe a little bit of this. So this one, let's see here, it's called Duo Green Yellow by Jacquard Products. So what I usually do is take it and shake it so that it gets some of it onto the cap, and then very easily I put some on my finger, just a tiny bit, because this goes a long, long way. And then I just start basically wiping it on there. So you can see it's already adhering to the clay. And you can put as much of this on there as you would like. And I also try to hit the edges. Okay, so you can see how it creates beautiful depth there. Lots of detail showing up here. All right, and then I'm just going to pick it up very carefully. I just want to look at it. If you see any extra just kind of sitting in the little wells between the details here, you can just blow it out usually. Okay, so that one is done. Now I'm going to work on this one. This one's kind of bent, so I'm going to just kind of adjust it a little bit. That's going to happen with these, so don't get completely hung up with that. Now I don't want to use this color, I want to use a gold. So if you swap colors, just make sure that you clean your finger, or that you use a different finger. Okay, so I want to use some gold, and I'm going to use this Solar Gold. This is Pearl X, and it's got quite a bit on the top already, so I'm just going to kind of grab that. Oh, we need to make a hole first. Let me start there. All right, I'm going to turn it around so I can see what I'm working with. Now this is the one that didn't have much room for a hole, so I'm going to actually put it right there. And remember to turn it. And I think because of where I placed it, I could probably do this without really messing up that bow. So I'm going to push and turn, pick it up, and just make sure that there is actually a hole in there, and you can see the hole there. And then just make any adjustments, because you know, clay is pliable, it'll keep moving on you. All right, so I'm going to start off with these edges up here. I'm going to come down here, this middle portion. Remember, you don't want to put a lot all at once. You want to actually create layers if you need to continue to add material, okay? And if it gets a little light, shake up your bottle again, and then you have some more on that top. But again, you don't want to just put a whole blob on there. And then I'm just going to highlight these little swirls. And I'm also going to run it around the edge again. So just a little around this edge here. Okay. And you can see now we have a nice little package there. You do have this little edge here, so you might want to maybe put a little bit there as well. Just kind of run it across there. Same with this edge here. Then look at your piece, make sure that it's what you want. One other thing that you could do that I'm not going to do in this lesson, but it's just an option for you. You can take some Swarovski flatbacks, and for instance you could put maybe 3 going down this area here, or you could just put 1. If you don't want to have this hanging, you could actually put one of the Swarovski flatbacks right here where we created the hole. Okay, so what we're going to do here is create all of these ornaments, and pull them out of our mold. We'll add the Pearl-Ex or the powders, however you want to do that. And then again, just make sure you shape them as you like them. So I'm going to shape these. And then I'm going to continue on with those. I'll put my powders on, lay them on the tile. If you have a toaster oven that you're using, set it for about 250 and make sure it gets really warm before you put this in. You want to follow the instructions on the packages. If you get a package, if you already have a package that's been opened, you don't have the plastic part that gives you the instructions, then about 250 is what you want to use on a tile, and you want to cook them or cure them for about, I'm going to say 30 minutes. Okay? Once the alarm or the timer goes off, just leave them in there, let it cool down. If you're worried about it, you can certainly pull it out. Just be very careful. For those of you who do not have a toaster oven, you can cure this in your home oven. Just be very careful. What you want to do is place these tiles in one of those pans that you get usually around a holiday. You know, it's one of those throwaway pans. Get a pan, get you some tile, lay the tile down in there, and then cover that pan. You can either take, usually those pans come in pairs, and you can take the other one and set it on top of the bottom portion, and then clip it with your chip clips that are metal, not plastic. Make sure they're metal only. Or you can use binder clips from your home office. And then again, you're going to cook those or cure them at 250 for about a half hour. Now, after they cool down, you want to pick them up and check them. If they feel way too bendy, if they feel like you can squish into the clay, then they have not cured enough yet. So heat up that oven again and start curing it again in about 10-minute increments, 10 or 15. All right, but because of the thickness, we've only got about a 1/4 of an inch here. 30 minutes should do okay. It's not a large piece, but you never know. So I will go ahead and cure mine, and then we'll come back and finish it up. The polymer clay pieces are now completely cured, and I think they look really cute. Now, if you want your pieces a bit shinier than they are, you can put a little bit of varnish on them. You could even use Mod Podge if you have glossy Mod Podge. Just kind of paint a layer on top, let it dry completely, and then you'll be good to go. I'm going to leave mine just like this, but what we need to do now is to add some ribbon. So I'm going to take about 1 foot of ribbon. I'm going to create a diagonal edge there. I'm going to thread it through the hole that we made. And then bring it so that it's equal in length. And then I'm going to tie a little bit of a knot here. Right in the middle. And then make a little bow. And then even up my ends here. And then I have a nice little piece there. Now, if you want to hang it on the tree, you'll just need to thread your ornament hanger right back through here to hold it up there. Okay, if you want to make it a tag, you can cut another 12 inches. Let's say we're going to do this one. Thread it through there. We're going to tie this together. And then I would tie this into a complete knot. And then you have a couple of options here. So you can leave it like that and then just tape that down, or you can make another knot up here at the top. And you can hang that, tape this down onto your gift, and then they can also take this once the gift is opened and use it the next year for an ornament for their tree. So you have some options there. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish out the rest of these. And also, if you decide to use them as tags for gifts, remember you can use the back side to write your to and from. You can also take this just like you did with the blue gift, put a little bow on it, which is kind of what I like. I like the little bow. So that's what I'm going to do to all of these. But this is a great way for kids to be involved in the process of decorating. And it'd be a really great idea to have each of your children, if you have more than one, choose a color and let those ornaments be the tags on their gifts. So then you don't even have to write who the gift is for. You'll know by the color. Swatch. So even though I used a mold that was for the winter holiday, you can certainly use the molds from any other holiday, any other cooking. For instance, you could use a floral mold for a girl's birthday. Truck mold for a little boy. Whatever you like. There's so many options. And just 2 more. And remember that during the lesson, I also indicated that you could, if you wanted to, add some Swarovski jewels to your piece. If you decided not to use those pieces while you were working with the clay while it was soft and uncured, but you take a look at your pieces now and you think maybe you'd like one on there, you can still glue it on there. Just get you some Gorilla Glue. Put you a little dot of glue on there. And put that Swarovski piece down. I'm going to go ahead and change this to a little bow since I am a bow person. And there we go. We have a nice little assortment for the holiday. Thanks for sharing this time with you. I'm Anne Marie Fowler, Creative Director of Mystic Spring Studios. Have a great holiday.